Welcome to the AI Applied podcast. Today, we had so much AI news happen this week. We literally didn't even know what to do with it. We got a list as thick as Connor's newsletter, and that is a thick newsletter. There's some incredible stuff in there, so make sure you're definitely subscribed to that. But we wanted to kick this off with a big announcement that is massive but completely overlooked. That is that Google has released Gemini 1.5. This was kind of sandwiched right between some other announcements and Sora getting unleashed from OpenAI, which is obviously an amazing video generation AI model. And it kind of made Google's whole thing overlooked. Everyone's feeling a little bit bad, but Google has created something incredible. Connor, what have you seen of Google Gemini 1.5?
Yeah, it's really fascinating, right? Because Jaden, you and I are pretty hard on Google, but we are grading on a curve a little bit, right? Like, I mean, first of all, Google, 200,000 people, $1 billion. I was about to say $1 billion as an exaggeration. That's way under exaggerated. They have trillions and trillions of dollars, not literally, folks, but when they are putting out Gemini 1.5, I think everybody was pleasantly surprised. It came out really just a couple of months after 1.0 was released, and it actually seemed pretty cool. It's sort of like going to be like this general purpose model in the system, and it is sort of showing some genuine advancements. I think one of the things that's catching people's attention is the huge context window for one, which is Sundar Pichai. I think he said this in The Verge or something like that. He's like, that we can put like the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy in there. So it's, what is it? It's sort of like, up to 1 million tokens, which is a crazy compared to, if you think about OpenAI's GPT-4, it's like 128,000. If you think about the current Gemini Pro, it's only 32,000. So the context window is great. I think it's going to be, coming up sort of also making its way up the ladder of these sort of stats that we care about, right? This sort of like mixture of experts, architecture, the MOE experts and all that kind of stuff, which is just basically a fancy way that saying that it does better in like selectively activating the most, it's like the pathways in the neural network. It improves performance. It's coming up to like, where we're going to get access to Ultra. There is a 2-month free, sort of like trial. Here's the thing, Jaden, that I'd love sort of like, your thoughts on, because I've seen people testing it. People are like, generally it's pretty good, but it's not blowing anyone away. And Google is going to be asking $20 a month for this thing. It just feels like Gemini 1.5, look, way better. ChatGPT-4 competitor for sure. I don't know. Are you seeing any demos or anything like that you're like, holy cow, stop the presses?
Well, this is what I'll say, and this is what I'm impressed on. I'll give Google a little bit of a pat on the back for once, because I know we are quite hard on it. And that is that I'm impressed. Google came out with this thing kind of unannounced. This wasn't super expected in mid-February. They just released like their first version in like December, January-ish. So this is only like a month and a half later, pretty much. And that's a move I like. And I think essentially what happened there was they got some flack for not being even as good as OpenAI. And then they're like, hey, we can do better. So they did a big crunch for a month and a half and try to get this thing up to par, get it even better. And I will say that it seems almost like this game, whoever has the most money to throw away, they can win one game. And the one game is the context window game. And it's kind of like, for a while, OpenAI was getting beat out by Anthropic's Claude. And I'll be 100% honest, I was using Anthropic's Claude at least, once every couple days because it had a bigger context window than ChatGPT. And I was like, awesome. Well, I have this massive document. I want you to scan for the stuff, throw it in. It gets scanned. It was, before the code interpreter. So I was uploading PDFs to it. Okay. Then OpenAI, of course, does that. And I feel like I need to use it less. So in the meantime, if you want to get people to use your tool, find something like that. It might be a loss leader, right? Like Google might lose money on 1 million token context window, but I think hats off to them for doing that. It's 10x of OpenAI. You could do some big things. I do think, though, you're going to get diminishing returns on this one. So this is one, if you have money and big funding now, use it. It's a good party trick to pull out. Eventually, 1 million, 2 million, 10 million, 100 million, a billion context window. Like, okay, like I just need you to analyze my PDF. So on average, my PDFs are not going to be more than, 10 or 20 or 50 or 100 pages. So I think at some point you're going to get diminishing returns, but kudos to Google on the kind of stealth speed release mid-February, and then also the big context window.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, but Jane, maybe to your point, it's sort of playing kind of an older game, right? I was the same thing. Like we all used to use Anthropic's Claude. when GPT could only handle, I think it was like, I got it down to like, up to like 2,300 words. I remember I was like, sort of like knew the exact word count that I could do. But now that's becoming less of a thing. And are there that many people that need to upload an entire trilogy? I don't know. And also the recollection that these tools have of that exact thing, that's what matters, not how much you can upload into it. So that's number one. But maybe to pivot a little bit here, it feels like OpenAI, first of all, sort of like, it almost feels like a pro wrestling thing where OpenAI comes in and like crunches Google from both sides, because OpenAI like drops something, which I'm about to talk about memory. Google drops Gemini, like, oh yeah, watch this. And then OpenAI drops the hammer with Sora 2 hours later, which is hilarious. And we were recording a podcast on Sora. So I just want to talk for a second about the memory thing, because it almost feels like OpenAI is playing a slightly different game. When Google was teasing Gemini for so long, they were teasing that they were playing a different game, right? They were saying like, this is going to be multimodal from the ground up, whereas OpenAI's device is sort of, Frankenstein's in, vision and all that kind of stuff. But it didn't really come through like that. And now I feel like the tables have turned a little bit, where OpenAI is playing the different game. And that's where I want to talk about for a second, this idea of memory. And this is where, these things that we've gotten very used to, like when I go out and I train companies, which I do a ton, I'm kind of just giving them a lay of the land. You have your chats on the left-hand side of your ChatGPT. And I always say, like, it's like getting cryogenically frozen, that chat, right? I mean, like, you can go back to it any time. It will remember exactly where you are. But if you go to a new chat, it's like, I don't know who Jaden Schaefer is. I don't know who Connor Grannon is, right? I mean, like, it's weird. It's like amnesia or cryogenically frozen with a perfect memory. So what ChatGPT is doing, and this was sort of getting teased a little bit in their Teams function, was this idea that it can start remembering and retaining. So what they're saying now is that it's going to have a new memory system that like retains basically the information about users over time, like coding preferences and personal details, past interactions, things like that. And the idea is that this is going to be making more like more personal, more efficient. You don't have to like keep repeating yourself, things like that. Now, there are privacy issues, and they're going to allow you to sort of like toggle things on and off. But, when you saw this about the memory, to me, this felt like this is getting closer to this tool really learning something about me. What was your take on the OpenAI tools coming out?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. You can essentially build a database of like memories of things to remember about you. And what I thought was cool is they actually have two. One for just general chats you do, and then one for GPTs you use. So GPTs you use can have memories that are specifically relevant to them that they remember, and OpenAI and the GPTs don't like cross-reference those. So I think that's kind of cool, and you could delete them if you want, or you can keep them. So I think that's cool on OpenAI's part. The one other thing that I thought was really fascinating that OpenAI did in this whole latest news cycle that I want to bring up, and I know, Connor, you got some background in it, so I'll bring you in on this. But Logan Kilpatrick, who we've had on the podcast before, he tweeted out, and I recently saw his post on X, where he said that OpenAI is now publicly sharing the OpenAI forum. So he said this is a place to discuss, learn, and shape AI. The forum features online and in-person events along with paid activities that directly impact OpenAI models. Connor, have you been part of this? I believe you said something about you being part of this forum. What is this? Tell us a little bit about this, because this sounds super fascinating.
It was so cool, and happy to sort of like share this out, because this is an application process. So people, get your pens and pencils ready here. So yeah, this is like the OpenAI forum, and run by our friend Natalie Cohn. Boosted out by Logan Kilpatrick. Like all these super great people over at OpenAI. They have great people over there. But I have been a part of this when it was sort of in stealth mode a little bit, which I hope it's okay to talk about now. But last summer, Natalie, reached out to me. She's like, hey, we're putting together this thing where we're kind of like bringing together, thought leaders and people from around, like a lot of like developers also from OpenAI, a ton of different people from OpenAI, but also just people who are, in the scope of the world who's starting to use generative AI. We want to kind of get your feelings on it. And it's been such a cool series, Jaden. Like we all kind of get on the phone, like, I don't know, every month, every couple of weeks, something like that. There's always like a presentation. I had a chance. I think I gave one of the first ones actually, sort of like to talk about like my way of understanding generative AI. And there was just tons of OpenAI people there and all that kind of stuff. Super fun to share. And they've now opened this up. And so, so people are going to be able to, anybody who's interested in generative AI, anybody who's using it, in their own line of work, because this is what OpenAI is really, really interested in. They're interested in hearing from and getting the interactivity from people who are not locked in as developers and, making their own creations and things like that. So, Gene, they would love to have you, I know, with your AI box. I know that's taking off right now. I hope that you are still taking investments in your fundraising rounds, but also just schmoes like me, right, who come from academia, people in public policy, educators, speakers, everybody, marketers, people who just use it. So again, check out OpenAI. Check out, I reposted it. Check out Logan. Check out Natalie. Check out anybody on LinkedIn who's posting about this, because they are actively asking people to sign up and apply and try to come and be a part of this cohort, because it's going to be, I think, really, really cool.
Yeah, so fascinating. So yeah, definitely make sure to check that out. Apply to join. There's so much more. Connor, did you have anything else that you saw? I mean, I'm honestly just still in a whirlwind of all the AI news that's come out this week. Is there anything else you wanted to add on to this?
I mean, there was almost too much. Like, I know Magic got sort of like this giant investment from Nat Friedman of like $100 million. I probably have these numbers wrong. It's just all these things were like spinning past my eyes, Jaden. I was trying to kind of track along with your AI chat. The Sora thing, I think, came in like cannonballed into the pool at the end of the week to sort of like just douse everybody else. But there was almost too much to keep up on it. It felt like that week in March. Remember that, Jaden, where like anything that came out, I think Bard was announced that week, and GPT-4 came out like that week. It was one of these weeks where it felt like any moment, any hour could have been front page of the New York Times. This week, and especially the last few days, has felt like that. So listen, every once in a while I go out and I train companies and I get asked, hey, listen, so, where are we going to be in 2 years? I'm like, where are we going to be in 2 years? I'm like, where are we going to be in 2 weeks? And I'm not even exaggerating. Listen, we were talking, Jaden, you and I were talking to Alex Singla and our very own Liz Grennan over at McKinsey, who basically run a lot of their generative AI stuff. And they're like, listen, folks, this is, this podcast is AI Applied. Get on there, try it. You don't have to be an expert in everything that's coming out. You just have to understand what these tools feel like to your fingers. Just get on there, sort of like get those dopamine hits going, because I promise you, once you start seeing like, okay, Sora is coming out, 1.5 from Gemini is coming out, memory from ChatGPT, all these things will start to make more sense. But the most important thing is just get on there, figure out what you do during the day, and start messing around with it, start playing with it.
Yep, 100%. I think that's the biggest takeaway. So much is coming down the pipe. You got to be trying it out. You got to be looking at it and try to incorporate it into what you're doing. So thank you so much for tuning in to the AI Applied podcast. We really appreciate you all jumping on. Make sure to rate us wherever you get your podcasts. So that's on Apple. I know, come on, scroll down, hit those stars. If it's on Spotify, click on the About section. Go leave us a review. We really appreciate it. We hope that you all have an amazing rest of your day.